Sorry, I've been trying to get a bit of software working for us. So let's start. Right. I can get everything. Okay. So two things that I really need to talk about. One is the next question of the assignment. Yes, it is there. I've just got one more question to rewrite. Basically, that assignment is supposed to be based on the test you would have done. I'm really sorry about taking so long to get it out. Just as part of my defence, I've just been given the job of being head of department, so it's a whole lot of heap of extra things have fallen on my plate. So I'm really sorry about not getting this assignment to you. I will get it to you today. So that's just the last little question to write up for you, to make it into a more genuine assignment rather than a test. So having said that, I sent an email via LMS as well through just before to do with the exams. I think a few of you asked about exams last week, and I know lots of students have been asking about exams in any case. I think the best thing to say is that in general, each subject is going to do something quite different, or different in different disciplines. And even in mathematics, we're going to do a couple of different things. So what I've decided to do in this subject, in Math1MIT, is to do what's called a take-home exam. And there are a whole lot of advantages. Take-home exams are actually quite common in mathematics, in disciplines in general. But how it works is more or less like a mini assignment. So it's based on the ordinary 3-hour exam. I would expect that it would take most of you, around 2 to 3 hours, 3 hours to complete it. However, because it's called a take-home exam, you actually get 24 hours to do the whole thing. But instead of having a particular time and a particular day for the exam, it'll be ready to go right from the beginning of the exam period. So you just choose the 24-hour period that you want to work on. Let me know, and then at the beginning of that 24 hours, I'll send you a copy of the exam. And then at the end of the 24 hours, you send it back to me. Now, I do need to ask if there's going to be any problems with scanning and converting into PDF files your handwritten notes. So a lot of, I don't have my phone with me, but a lot of phones have apps where you can take a photograph and convert that into a PDF file and then upload it. So I'm happy about that. Or if you've got printers at home that do the same thing, then I'm happy about that as well.
Google Drive has a document scanner you can get as well. It converts stuff into PDFs. Mm-hmm. So if you just get the Google Drive app, that works too.
Yeah, thanks for that. This is a personal thing. I tend not to use Google stuff myself. That's just a personal preference. But yes, there is that out there. There's something called NoteBlock, I think. Google, what do you say, Josh?
Oh, so Google Drive, you can add like a scan of anything in. So it takes a photo and then converts it. So you have to do, in the Google Drive app, there's like this plus button, and then there's a scan function here, and then you can scan whatever documents in.
So they're quite good. And in fact, what's happening in a lot of the subjects is that they're going to have online quizzes. No, not for you, but in some of our other subjects, they're going to have online quizzes, but students would then upload their working notes to verify the work that they've done for the quiz. So I'm adopting a slightly different approach by doing the take-home exam. As I said, you think of it as a mini assignment. It really shouldn't take you more than about 3 hours. It's based on a 3-hour exam. And then you just have 24 hours to do it. The big advantage is that it's not scheduled as such. So there won't be a slot in the exam timetable like perhaps with your other subjects. So that means that if you want to do it on the first day of exams because you've got this material under control and you just want to get out of the way, that's fine. You do it on the first day. On the other hand, if you want to concentrate on your other subjects and leave this exam till the very end, then you're welcome to do it that way as well. So the only condition is that we're trusting you that you're not going to talk amongst each other about what's on the exam. So, if you did it on the first day, you're not going to tell other people in the class what's there. So a fair bit of trust involved. But I've run take-home exams in the past for many subjects and they've always worked pretty well. In fact, I had take-home exams when I was a lad. That's going back a long time. And I have to say I probably enjoyed them more than sit-down exams. There's just that slight relaxation about it. But if you've got any questions about it, please contact me because it might be a question that everybody else in the class is also asking. Right. So again, I'm sorry about the assignment. I've just said a new lot of duties, so I'll get that assignment out today, and we can talk more about the exam as we go through. Probably what I will do for maybe the second and third test, I'll do what a lot of us are doing in mathematics and give you an online quiz to do within 1 hour. I think it's multiple choice based, so we'll have a bit of an experiment, but we won't do that until well after the break. Okay, so if there are any questions, as I said, please ask me or send it through on the chat, or better still, email me so I've got a record of it. Because things that come through on the chat, they do get stored somewhere, but I mightn't see them necessarily on the day. Well, that brings us to lecture 15. So we're actually somewhat ahead of time. So I'm hoping that by the end of the semester, we'll actually be, as you know, the last week is already devoted to revision anyway. And so what I'm hoping is that probably most of the second last week is as well. So that gives you plenty of time to look at your other subjects, their exams in those. The assignments that are left over from those. And also that gives us plenty of time for revision leading into the exam. So lecture 15 is really all about exponentials. Let's see. And I discovered this morning that I'd actually printed all this for you, for me. So compound interest. The idea here is you've got $100 and you're going to invest it at 10% each year. And the important thing is it's compounded annually. So at the end of you put your $100 into the bank at January the 1st, and what happens on December the 31st, so after 1 year, you get $100 that you started with plus 10% of the $100 because you're doing 10% per annum. And what is the interest that you've earned? So 10% of 100 is $10. Don't forget, I don't know if I've said this to you before, but it is worthwhile emphasizing that when we talk about percent, that little percent sign, that literally means 1 over 100. Okay. So when I say 5%, that literally means 5 over 100, which of course is 5 divided by 100, which would be 0.05. So often a lot of mathematicians will say we'll say 5%, but actually write down the fraction or decimal 0.05, because we just read that as 5%. And if I said 12%, that's 12 divided by 100, that's 0.12. If I say 150%, let's have more than 100%, 150 divided by 100 is 1.5. And so I might say 12%, but write 0.12. I might say 150%, but write 1.5. So that's what the percent sign quite literally means. It means 1 over 100 or divided by 100. So when we say 10% of 100, it means what? It means 10 100ths, 10%, is 0.1. Okay, so it means 0.1 times 100, which of course is 10. And if you add that to the principal, you get $110. So sometimes people call that the principal, sorry about the small writing, and this the total amount of interest. Now, what happens after 2 years? Well, you actually start with $110 because that's what happens at the end of the first year. And then you ask yourself, what's 10% of 110? Well, that's $11. You add that to your 110, you get 121. Notice it's just a little bit more than 20% of 100. And the thing is that you're getting interest on the interest. So you're not, when you do this second year, getting 10% of $100, but also 10% of the $10 that you earned in the previous year. This is why, even though it doesn't look very much after 1 year, you've got $1 extra. After 3 years, you've got $3 more than you might expect. After 4 years, you've got $6 more than you might expect. Those little bits add up quite dramatically, and in fact, this is precisely what's happening at the moment with this coronavirus, that the governments around the world are trying to prevent an exponential growth, because as soon as you get an exponential, this is exponential growth, as soon as you get exponential growth, things can get away very, very rapidly in a very short amount of time if you leave them too long. Even though the initial amounts don't seem to be very much, but they do add up. So again, this idea about compounded annually is that you're getting, I suppose after 4 years, you've got $133.10. Then what's the amount of interest? Well, 10% of the 133. That's made up of 10% of the original 100 plus 10% of the $33 interest. So you're getting interest upon interest. That's why we talk about compounded. This is also why when you, in a similar way, when you take out a mortgage on a house, suppose you take out a mortgage for $100,000, and I don't know, I'm just going to make up numbers here, but suppose that the interest rate is 5% and you take it out for 20 years, you might end up paying $200 and something thousand, $100,000 for the amount you borrowed, but $140,000 for the interest that you're paying to borrow that money. And most people don't realise that borrowing $100,000, you're not just paying back $100,000, you're actually paying back another $130,000, $140,000, $150,000, depending on the life of the loan and the interest rate. So you're paying usually well more than double what you actually borrowed. But the advantage is that you're paying it over 20 or 30 years rather than paying it back the next year. So another approach to this is, let's go along here. Another approach to this is that after 1 year of the original amount, plus 10% of the original, So you've got, when we did, so this here, we've got $100